So, do you want to start first by telling me what life was like before World War II broke out in Lithuania? Can you tell us a little bit about what your family did? How old you were?
Well, I tell you, Lithuania, Jewish people were invited to be there by one of the kings, because Lithuanian people mostly were farmers. So Vytautas Didysis, that was his name, he started to invite Jewish people, and Jewish people came, and some were already from other areas, and they had full rights to live there, go to school, be educated. So my two brothers and myself, we were educated in Lithuania.
And that wasn't always so common, right?
Yeah, and so it was normal life.
Just a normal life.
But I don't know if you want me to continue.
Sure, of course.
It's when the Soviets took over, they were chasing the Germans.
A lot of people don't know that the Soviets came.
Already things were different. The very rich people that had big businesses were sent to other places.
Like camps,
and
right?
It saved them. It saved them because if they would be in Siauliai, they would have maybe been killed.
Right.
So all those rich people were taken to, I forgot now what the names are.
To Siberia and places like this?
Yeah. But us, since my mother had a tiny little store, that dairy store, just, milk and butter and cheese, and my father worked in a factory for shoes in the office. So we were there, but they put like people to see over in those little stores, and the things, how much money they make, and if they're too rich, they send them to again also into this. So that's how we were taken over slowly.
Slowly, and you weren't allowed to go to Hebrew school anymore, is that right?
Well, the thing is, see, we all went, there was a Hebrew school, and my brothers, myself, we went to the Hebrew day school, and I started from kindergarten. But when they took over, I was already 13 years old.
Right.
So I couldn't go to Hebrew school anymore.
Right.
So we had to learn Russian.
And learn Russian along with instead of Hebrew.
Yeah, that's it.
And so at a certain point, though, in 1941, the Germans invaded Lithuania. They invaded the Soviet Union, of which Lithuania was now a part. Do you remember that time?
Yes, I do. I tell you, the most important thing that I remember is when my mother said, she did the same thing just before the Russians came. But again, she said, we have to run into the basement because it looks like the Nazis, the Germans, are going to take over.
And they might shell or shoot or something, right?
So we went downstairs in the basement, and nobody bothered us. Because you see, the main Nazis, the military, were chasing the Russians. But the other group, they were already taken over our town.
And so they occupied.
So the first thing, you want me to continue?
Absolutely, you're on a roll.
They have made us wear the Star of David in front and back of their garment. Now, when I was born, I was a blonde little girl. See, my grandmother on my father's side was blonde. So our neighbor always used to say to my mother that I belong to them because I'm blonde.
And
so
blue
my
eyes?
mother went to that woman and said, you always said that Nesute, they called me Lithuanian Nesute, is yours. Take her. What do you expect? I should risk my life? Didn't take me.
Didn't take you.
No. So they made me hide under a bed, they made me do whatever. But then when the ghetto was created, was a special thing. They came to each house, those Nazis. I call them Nazis. I don't want to say Germans, because Germany now is a normal country. The Nazis came to every house. And they took whatever they wanted. When they came to our house, we were in the kitchen, I remember, lined up, my father, my mother, my two brothers, and me. And a young Lithuanian girl was assigned, she knew German, to give us a document who goes into the ghetto.
So like a ticket or a shine in German.
Well, a shine, you had to have this ticket.
Right.
So, while these main Nazis were taking what they wanted, China or clothing or whatever, my mother asked the young girl, she gave her money, write a certificate for my girl.
Because they weren't going to give you a ticket, right?
They wouldn't give me. There was no.
Right.
Then, when they walked out, my mother quickly looked if the girl left a certificate. Yes, there was 2 for my parents, 2 for my brothers, and 1 blank certificate. See, the girl was smart. If they would catch her, she would say, oh, they just made out,
A
like
blank
this.
one, it was an extra one.
But my parents could fill out a certificate, and that's how I walked into the ghetto.
The ghetto. That was a lucky chance. What happened to people who didn't have the certificate? They weren't allowed.
They were taken out and killed in the forest near us.
Can we backtrack for just a second, Nesse? Because right before you all went into the ghetto, there was some shooting of about 1,000 men in that area.
I tell
Do you remember anything about that?
I'll be very sincere with you. I was so young, and my parents, my father, made behind a cabinet a place where when they went to work, all of them, I had to go into that hiding place and stand there. So sometimes what you can read now, testimony from other survivors, maybe they were older, maybe they remember it. But I was standing there, and the only things I saw is those Nazis running and grabbing people away.
Right.
One day, as I was standing there, I saw one of our neighbors, a very nice lady. She had like 5 or 6 children. Some of them were working, but one she was holding by her hand, the other one on her arm. And all of a sudden I heard shooting. The Nazi shot the baby in front of the mother. Yeah. And I remember up to this day, why didn't that Nazi take the baby home?
Right.
He would be German.
He would be a German.
But they did such terrible things. So maybe what you asked me before, I don't remember,
right.
Or it happened to somebody else and they wrote something.
And I think from going with you these past several years, that in these very early weeks of the war, when they were in Lithuania, the Germans were shooting just men and boys, and quickly over the summer they began to shoot whole communities. But they shot about 1,000 boys in Siauliai, and you didn't see it or hear it.
Yes, because they took them to the forest.
Right,
but see, in Lithuania there were many forests, and around Siauliai there were parks and forums and stuff. They, not just boys, it was some rabbis and some other people and
older
the boys. We heard shooting, and what happened, they took them right to the forest and killed them. And
the ground moved for several days after that, I remember you telling me.
It's documented, some things that I documented, some when we were liberated, there were other survivors that what they remembered.
What they remembered. And so, can you remember what it was like in the ghetto?
What was like in the ghetto? Well, as I told you, when I was so young, I couldn't get a working job. But when things became so terrible, my mother paid somebody off. You could always find somebody to give them a little money and to give me a job to go out of the ghetto every day to go to work. And so they found me a job in a hospital where they used to bring the German soldiers, the injured soldiers. What was my job? There was the young boys were chopping the wood. We, the girls, from room to room, central heating we didn't have.
Right, exactly.
So we had to put that in. And that's how I was really helped a lot. But one day, as we were coming from work, we heard cries from the ghetto. Were you going to ask me that?
How did you know that? And what did you hear? What was happening in the ghetto?
Yeah.
It was a children's action.
As we came closer, the women that were crying, they told us what happened that day. SS, Gestapo, and other people that joined them ran through the ghetto and grabbed everyone away. We did not know then where they were taken to. Among them were healthy and strong and children and sick, because you see, the healthy and the strong, the Nazis wanted to kill because they shouldn't fight them back. Among them was my father. They were taken, we found out after the war that they were taken to Auschwitz concentration camp where they were killed in the gas chambers.
Yes. And that was the so-called Kinder action, the child action, in 1943, that you lost your father.
That was called the Kinderaktion.
But they also took
They're all together.
grown-up
That
people.
was the same, but that was named the Kinderaktion
Right.
because, mostly for children. Elderly and
Sick.
children and healthy and strong like my father.
But your father happened to be home that day.
That was his day off from work.
And he was caught up in that killing. And you were in the ghetto for some time.
We were there a long time. I didn't look up carefully how long we were. But the thing was, one day they said, we are leaving the ghetto.
And why was
Some
that?
people were working in the factory. Some people, we had shoe factory and leather factories owned by Jewish people. They themselves had come to the United States just before. And one day they said, well, we are going to leave the ghetto. Take your precious things with you, and we're going. They didn't say where we were going.
The Red Army was coming, the
Yeah, they
Soviets
took-
were coming.
Because that's it, you see, that it was really, they were not afraid for the Russians, they were afraid for the Germans, So the Germans figured they have to move us out. If not, the Russians will save us.
Right. And they took you...
In those days, the Russians were the good ones,
Indeed.
And if you can...
Things changed, but they were the good guys in those days. Yeah.
So that thing, they took us by horse and wagon to the train station, and all of a sudden, I'm not with my mother, and I'm not with my brother. I'm there myself. I don't know where they are. And we we traveled. We came to a concentration camp called Stutthof.
Near Danzig, today Gdansk, Poland.
Yeah. So that,
The coast.
that was different. But at least there they didn't have a gas chamber and they didn't kill people there. So when I came and I lined up with the women, we had to line up and leave everything we took with us, just leave it behind. And when we lined up, the woman said to me, little girl, you came by yourself? I said, no, I came with my mother on the side of women. She said to me, they must have killed her already. It was terrible, but she said, oh, you should really I hope you can get out from here to some labor camp or something, because in the concentration camp they'll kill you for sure.
And so, did you get to one of those labor camps?
Well, every morning we were lined up and they looked us over. And the women always said to me, put yourself around with straw so you look stronger.
So you stuffed in
Put
some
on
straw, huh?
straw like this on your head so you look. And if you could get out to a labor camp, maybe you'll survive. Here,
Pinch your
they
cheeks.
won't do nothing. They said, look on top, the lining up people. Pinch your cheeks to be pink, health, and all kinds of stuff.
Stand on your tiptoes, so you're taller.
And then maybe they'll let you out too. So one day I'm standing there, and that woman says, did you do what I told you? You know? Put on this, do that, and stand here, and hopefully you'll be able, and maybe you can sneak up on top of that hill. Well, I tell you, some people did it, and I followed. And I stood there, and they looked us over, and it turned out 1,000 women sent to other labor camps. And from those labor camps, I was sent from place to place to place.
And can you talk about any of those places? Did you do hard work, hard labor?
You see, we didn't talk before a little bit, so I forgot what you knew to ask me, what you didn't.
Oh.
That's why I stopped.
Quick, tell me.
That's why I stopped a little bit.
Okay.
Well,
We have a code, you see, we have a...
I was in about 4 or 5 labor camps. What did we do? We were digging cone-shaped holes in the ground for enemy tanks to fall in. See, a tank, the Germans wanted to kill those tanks. A tank can go up the hill, down the hill, but if it falls like this, with the nose in,
it's stuck.
they cannot get out. And we were the people that they killed them, and then we had to drag them out and just get rid of it. And that we did from camp to camp to camp. And I tell you, in those days, you know, I still was very, very young. I was not even 16 yet. That one day they said, well, we are leaving the camp here. So we thought we were going to another. But instead, we started what they call the death marches.
And can you talk a little bit about that? I think you ended up in a barn.
Yes, but first we were marching from place to place. One time we were in a barn, and we were, I didn't sit too much. All of a sudden I hear noise that they're chasing us out from the barn. And the owner of the barn was screaming, I led in the dirty women, and now they're drinking my milk from the cows. So they chased us on the outside. Milk a cow gives the next day. Why didn't you say, oh, they can have a little milk? So as we were walking, running from the thing, and the guards with the other side of the gun hitting us, I fell on the ground, that I still have marks on me, and the women wanted to pull me up. I said, no, I want to die, I cannot take it anymore. Stupid girl, the Nazis want you dead. You have to live. But don't forget, if you survive, don't let us be forgotten.
And you've done a great job remembering for all of them.
One day, we stopped in a barn. And it was a few days, and we were not moving. We didn't know what was happening. And the guards were hiding and ordered some women. You see, we didn't get any food. People ate straw. People did anything they could. And they told some women to take them out, the dead, and dress them naked, because the clothing you can recycle. When you go through the documentaries in the Holocaust Museum, you see that.
Exactly.
And we didn't really know what's going, what's doing, who is living, who is not. One day, one of the women that carried out the dead bodies said they didn't see the guards.
And what did that mean?
So somebody said, oh, they may be hiding behind the barn. But you see, they ran away. They knew that the Soviets are taking over, but we didn't. So we sat in that barn, and all of a sudden we hear marching steps. And we thought the Nazis are back. And then we hear Russian language. And lucky that we knew a little bit Russian.
From that time and when you were in class, right?
That's it. And they were saying, we are chasing the Germans, they're losing the war, stay here. A few days later, doctors will come and they will help you. So we didn't even trust them. We were not so sure that that's what's happening. But 2 days later, doctors came, and in the village they made a hospital, and they took us all into that hospital. And then I didn't remember anything. All of a sudden I wake up in a hospital, and women are saying, oh, Nesse, that's you, Nessela. They didn't realize that I was out of conscious. And they right away, another woman that was a relative, oh, that's you. I'm so happy you're alive. We'll take care of you. Don't worry, don't worry. And they set us up, and helped us. But many of us even died in those hospitals. I don't know how I survived, but I was already at that point 17. From 13 to 17, I lived through hell. And we were all later set up in displaced person camps.
Now, this is my favorite story that you tell, because you got married in a displaced person's camp.
Right, but that's...
Did I miss something?
You missed something.
I did. Okay.
Where was Mama?
Where was Mama? Oh, I forgot about the mom. That's
okay.
my second favorite story.
Well, that I have to tell this. Well, there in that room, we had on the wall for each country, for each town, and I was standing. That's how you could find each other.
Survivors.
And a woman was standing on the side, and I was writing, Siauliai, Sarah Galperin.
Looking for your
Nesse
mom.
is looking for Sarah. The woman says to me, who are you, little girl? I never saw anybody looking like you. It was terrible. I was so skinny, nothing but bones. I said, I know you. You were a friend of my mother's, Sarah. She had a dairy store. Oh, Nessela, that's you. Go, you'll find your mother. Remember that?
I remember that one.
So I already was assigned a foster mother because I was a minor. So I went to that foster mother. No, she cannot go with me. She's looking for her son. She left them with the Christians. So she said, go, you'll find it. So I knew already a little bit how to hitchhike on those trains. I arrived where they told me my mother would be there. So I come in again. Who are you? Skinny girl. I told them I'm from Siauliai, Lithuania. They said, oh, Nessela, your mother heard that you were in the other end.
So
Go, you'll find her. Well, I don't even know how long it took for me to get back, and I was reunited with my mother. And that is when she said, because men started to come.
This is my favorite part. Go ahead, tell the story.
And they already got married because it's easier with a man in the family. That's when Mama said, one of us will have to get married. I was wondering, why does Mama want to get married? She has me. But she said, no, she'll never get married.
And she
but
was...
I will have to. I said, how am I going to do that? Remember?
Yeah, I remember.
She said, there is one man, he was in hiding, he had a lot of money. I didn't want him, he was old, he was 32 years old.
Yeah, that's old.
Another guy, I don't even remember why I didn't want him.
Yeah.
The third choice was a man that lost his whole family in Vilnius. That's where my father was originally from. And she said, that's okay, I'll talk to him. What do you think of him? I said, okay. I didn't know what's good, what's bad. All of a sudden, I see a man comes in front of me. He holds his hands like this, just like that. I didn't know what he means. He grabbed my hands and he says, little girl, would you marry me? I looked at Mama. And she did like that. And if Mama did like this, I'd say, yes, sure.
Because you do what your mom says, right?
That's how I got married in the displaced person camp. And we were there. My mother remembered the family in America, but we couldn't go because we had already children. One of them is sitting there right there, my son. He was born.
Want to stand up?
And also my daughter Pnina was born before him. So we had to wait until they got a little older to come to the United States.
Right. And when did you come?
When did we come? 1950, I think.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit
Lucky
about...
that I still remember a little bit.
Lucky you do.
At my age, you know.
You want to talk a little bit about what your life was like here?
Here?
Uh-huh.
Well, I tell you.
I know you have nine grandchildren. 9? Is it 9? 9.
Barbara,
9
do you remember? She always introduces me. Barbara, how many grandchildren? She was supposed to know. We
So
both
many,
worked
they don't
together
know.
at the desk conference.
So many they can't keep count.
See? 7.
7 grandchildren.
And then we have great-grandchildren, God bless them.
And 11 great-grandchildren.
And they're all very good and all very helpful. And one of Eddie's sons, the youngest one, Shira, is very much involved in this museum. There is a way for young people to get involved. So they have a little classes in the spring. If you have some younger children that want to go and learn and be able to take people to the exhibit, that's what Shira did. And she's just wonderful. She's, when we had the big event,
The Days of Remembrance.
she was chosen to be involved in that too.
So she was, this last week we had our Days of Remembrance and the commemoration of the Holocaust last Tuesday, I want to say last Tuesday? Was that right? Last Tuesday. And Shira was chosen to help the survivors light the candles in our Capitol Rotunda. So she did a good job.
Yeah, she did a good job. Okay. But so we are very proud that the children, the grandchildren, somebody is going, you know. And why am I so happy about it? You know, when those women in the camps, when I cried of hunger, they gave me a bite of bread, and they always said, if you survive, don't let us be forgotten. Teach the world what hatred can do. And I really had dedicated my life for many years in the displaced person camp. They had already entertainment for people. And I didn't want to go. I stood there outside. And my mother said, why don't you go to listen to some music or something. How can I listen to music when all these people died? She said, you're entitled to live and dance and listen to music, but the best of yourself, give over to the life. Don't ever let them be forgotten. And people that know me well here in the museum, I was here before this building was here. Going from one house to another, begging for money. The government gave the land, but not the building.
But not
we
the
had
building.
to get it. And with the help of all my helpers there from my survivors events, we're still doing that, raising money and doing all this.
Yes, indeed. So, you want me to open the floor for questions, or you want to talk a little bit more about what life was like here in the United States? Shall I let them ask you some questions? Shall I let them ask you some questions?
Yes, of course.
Let's open up the floor.
You see?
And I think there are already some people. I see two of my colleagues who are holding microphones. And I'm going to open the floor right now for questions. We have about 15, 20 minutes. And if you have a question, show of hands. Okay, we've got a first one here. And my colleague's going to bring that microphone to you. And if you'll just wait until the microphone is there, we'll get those questions answered. Sir, you're the first.
Have you met any of the Nazis and others that you ran into, you had part of during your life?
I'm going to repeat the question.
Yes,
for
you have to repeat.
I have to repeat the question. He wants to know if you saw, after the war, if you saw any of those Nazis that did these terrible things to you and your family. Is that the question? Did you ever see these people after the war?
Well, I tell you, some were in the same camp, some came to the same countries, some people I'm still in touch with. But don't forget...
The Nazis. He's asking about the Nazis.
The Nazis...
Did you see anybody after?
I did not.
Okay.
And I know right after, many of the Nazis ran away and they were held back with other countries.
Right.
But you see, I always say, if people think they do a crime and they will run away and hide out, it doesn't work that way.
It doesn't work.
Because even you can live a lifetime hiding, there will come a time when you'll have to meet with the Lord. And there, I was told, there is a gate. And you cannot go into the gate to heaven. You have to tell on the scale whether you did good things or bad things in your life.
Yep.
It doesn't just go for a Holocaust. It just goes for everything.
Goes for everybody.
And if you did terrible things, especially kids in schools, they hit each other, they do, you always have to understand that you have one day, when your time comes, that scale will ask you, what did you do? And if you were bad and not kind and not good to each other, to older people,
you're not getting in.
you won't go up, you'll go down. And you see, with me, when I always talk, speak, I always finish with one thing.
Mm-hmm.
When you leave this building, outside, you're outside. Don't see a race, don't see a religion. See a human being that the Lord in heaven, but whatever name we call him, created. And that's how we'll make a better world and respect everyone, regardless how we look, regardless how rich we are or poor, respect everyone.
Respect everyone.
Thank you.
Do we have another question? There's one right behind here, and okay. Oh, got it. Okay. Sir. Oh, ma'am.
Sorry?
There we go. Yes.
Oh, how long were you in the camps?
How long were you in the camps, Nesse, altogether?
I tell you the truth. I forget the math.
So
I was lucky that I was in the ghetto a little bit.
yeah, you were.
Because otherwise, if they would have taken me at 13, I would be dead. But I was already a little bit older.
Yes.
And as I told you, my mother found a job for me in the hospital and something else. But I was about 16, you know.
When you were liberated. You
and
were
then-
in the ghetto a long time. That was about
Yeah,
3
so-
years, and that probably saved your life.
Yeah.
She was,
That, really saved my life, because otherwise, some things, and I don't like to read my notes. I always depend on my memory, because that's really, and also, I am blessed that I love you.
oh, I love you.
That you can tell and read and be my best messenger.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So you were in a camp about a year in total, and that, as Nesse said, the fact that she was in a ghetto so long saved her life. Do we have another question?
Yeah.
There we are.
Hi,
Now.
Mrs.
My
Godin.
son has a question.
Oh, Lord. Okay. Go ahead. We'll get you in a second.
Oh,
Go ahead.
with me?
Yep.
I was wondering, have you ever been curious to go back to Lithuania? Did you ever go back to your village to face the citizens, to, I don't know,
Yes,
to see what
Did
it-
you,
to
did
go
you
back?
ever go back to Lithuania, back to your native village? Did
Well,
you ever
I
go
tell
back?
you, when we first started to build a building, Mr. Meyerhoff
The
Very
founder of
appropriate.
this theater, right?
said to me, "Why don't you go back?" I said, "I don't have the money. I'm working and doing all that without..." He said, "Oh, I have frequent flyer points. I'll give you. Go. Find somebody that will go with you." The young lady that also was volunteering at that time, and we went to Auschwitz, where my father was killed. We went to many other killing places, and we did go to Lithuania. The Jewish community there was very small. Most people emigrated. And when I asked them why they are still there, well, the intermarriage, the children, and they had a nice office there. And they made breakfast and drinks for me and my partner. And then I heard Jewish songs from the outside. I said, "Oh, what are you doing? What are you doing, something special for Hanukkah for the children?" "No, we don't have money." I said, "Okay, let me see." So when I came back, as well as I raised money for the building, I came and I talked to Mr. Meyerhoff, and he said, "Don't worry, right? 10 people, 20 people, everybody will give you $5, you'll get it." So I sent them quite a bit of money, and even not so long ago, they said that the Jewish area is not that popular, but they still have my picture, and the supporter of the Jewish community of Siauliai.
Oh. Nessie, now you're in trouble because your son has the microphone.
Hello? Oh, there you go. You talked about being put on a train from the ghetto and being sent on a train, and we have a train upstairs in the museum. I wonder if you could talk about that experience a little bit.
Can you talk a little bit about what it was like to be on a train, going from the ghetto to the concentration camp?
Well, a few people tried to jump off from the train, but I was so young and not being with, really, so I was still with my mother, but it was terrible. We really didn't know where we were going. We didn't know of Auschwitz, we didn't know of nothing. So it turned out in documentaries that we were taken to Stutthof. That was saved us.
Yeah, and that's some distance
Because people
too.
that were taken to Auschwitz, some later on, they sent them to work, but many were killed right away.
Right away, right to the gas chamber. I saw a hand. Here we go.
Yes, my question is, from your experience and your opinion, why would you think that your non-Jewish neighbors and friends turned against the Jewish community so quickly that you see in the documentaries? Did they just buy into the propaganda, or did they not truly take in the Jewish community?
Okay, so he's asking, you were saying that you were in this very integrated community before the war. Why is it that your neighbors turned against you when the war started? Was it propaganda? Was it that they had never fully accepted
Well,
their
I
Jewish
tell you,
counterparts?
I asked that question many times.
Mm-hmm.
But people said, well, even now, people don't mix in. We see all these terrible things happening and we let it go. So in those days, I suppose they did the same thing. They wanted to protect themselves. And they said, if we take your girl, 13 and a half I was at that time, the neighbors are going to say, we saved a Jew.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We've got some down here. 2, 3 down here. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Beg your pardon. I didn't see the mic.
Nessie, the displaced persons community or camp that you were in, where was that, and who ran it, and how did that work?
So the displaced persons camp you were in, where was it and who ran it?
I think it was by the, it said, some people said the Christian relief, the Jewish relief. It was a mixture.
Yeah.
So it's really nobody, I didn't see a document saying exactly who did.
Right.
But there were people involved and created those places.
Right.
And we were helped.
Right.
Because if it wouldn't be Jewish relief, Christian relief, the Red Cross,
Red Cross.
you know, all kinds of
Right,
agencies
right.
put together.
Do you remember where the camp
And they
was?
gave us, I really don't know.
No. Germany,
I used to
though.
know, but
Germany.
I don't know exactly.
Somewhere in Germany.
Yeah.
And you, in the very beginning, I don't know where Nessie was. She doesn't remember the location of the camp. But originally, usually it was the occupation forces that took care of early on from the DP camps, and then UNRWA, the United Nations Rescue and Rehabilitation Administration, and then Jewish Relief, Christian Relief, Red Cross.
The Red Cross was involved.
Yep.
Many agencies were, when some people were sitting and closing their door and didn't bother even to help.
Right.
But there were good people that did help us.
Yes, indeed. Okay, there we go.
What happened to your mom?
What happened to your mom?
Well, my mom survived. I got reunited with her. But you know, I went to look for her, and then she went to look for me. And but she was still young, and she came to the United
30s,
States.
Right?
Because of her, we came here.
Yeah.
Because of her family, and I went to work. Mama was home with the kids, and everything was good. And then she got sick. In those days, you didn't live, you know, that long.
No.
So she was 69 when she died.
Your son is... You want to talk a little bit about how your mom survived? We heard your story. Do you remember how your mom survived?
I don't even remember. Maybe you can tell.
Oh, nobody knows.
I don't remember
It's a
how
mystery.
she was in one camp and in another camp and in a third camp. So I really
Well,
don't
after you
know.
were separated.
Yeah, that we were separated.
Yeah, okay. Yes, sir.
Don't-
I'm sorry, the light is really bright. Are you all right, Nessie? Okay.
I was wondering, what was your family told or your community told where y'all gave up all your firearms?
Can you repeat that question, sir? I didn't quite.
What was your family or community told where you had to actually give up your firearms, where you did not have any guns to defend yourself?
Did you have to give up your firearms? Did you have any firearms? Guns?
I didn't have any firearms.
No.
Why would I have firearms? Where would I get it? I was a kid.
Warren,
Hi, Nessie.
it's an old friend. It's Warren.
You see,
was wondering-
in some camps, in ghettos, not in the concentration camp, but in the ghettos, like in Vilna, even in Kaunas, they had underground people.
Right, exactly, where they had guns. Yep.
Nessie, I was wondering how you met your husband.
Oh, Warren, you missed that.
Oh, he did?
Yeah,
Oh,
I
I'm
never let her leave without telling that story.
Next.
That's a great one. You were outside, I think, while she was telling that. Do we have another question? There we go, okay.
What were your feelings to know that children about yay high were being killed?
What were your feelings when who? I'm sorry? Children. What were your feelings when you saw children killed? You told the story about the little baby that was
How
shot.
could you feel? I was a child myself. I thought they're coming for me next.
Right.
You know, really, but I was behind that cabinet that my father prepared for me to hide. I was just standing there and hoping when I saw the child being shot. I was just thinking, oh God, I hope they don't find me and grab me.
Right. We have time for one more. There we go.
What kind of work did you do at the work camps?
What kind of work did you do in the work camp? And I think you talked a little bit about digging the panzer, the tank ditches and clearing those tank ditches. Did you do what kind of work did you do in the labor camps?
Well, all kinds of
All
work.
kind of- but
they used whatever they needed. Sometimes they just needed to go to sweep the street from snow, you know, this, that. You never knew from one day to another what's going to happen.
And you
really didn't. You really didn't. You know, one time we were in one area, we stayed, and we were, like I say, cleaning the snow, and I always was worried. They gave us there a little bit food in the evening, so I always took a little piece of bread and was hiding it. We slept on the street. It must have been, I don't know, it was cold. I remember I had the little piece of bread under my head, under my pillow. And I cried. It was gone. The woman next to me said, "Why are you crying, little girl?" I said, "I was hiding a piece of bread from they gave you a little bit something." She said, "Well, hungry women." She said, "No, the women must have eaten it. Give it to me if you want to." So every time, if I ate a piece of my bread, I gave the woman in the morning, "Little girl, you want your piece of bread?"
Aww.
And she gave it. Maybe she saved my life.
Okay, we have one more, and then we're going to do our magic.
Hi. You are an amazing woman, first of all. I am so thankful to hear your story. I would just like to know what happened to your brothers.
What happened to your brothers, Nessie?
My both brothers survived. One brother was liberated by the Americans, and he was in the same displaced person camp as I was. And he and another few people illegally they made to Israel.
Okay.
Because they said, my brother said, yes, I should go with my mother because that's our family to America, but we need our own country. So God forbid if something happens, we should be helped.
Okay.
So, you know, there were different ideas, different things. My other brother was stuck in the Soviet Union, I told you.
Right.
The guy helped him, and he couldn't get out until many years later.
Many years later.
They are all young, but older people remember we had on the doors, on the synagogues, on the churches, let my people go, let my people go. And finally that helped, and so he was let go to Israel too.
To Israel. Okay. So we're down to our last couple minutes, and it's our tradition here at First Person to give the last words to our survivor. But before I do, I'd like to thank you all again for coming. Please come back. As I said before, we'll have First Person programming every Wednesday and Thursday until about mid-August. And for those of you who don't get a chance or didn't get a chance to talk to Nesse today, there'll be a chance. You're going to be signing some books, I understand, back in the lobby, back here behind the theater. So you'll have a chance to have some books signed or shake her hand, ask a question, take a picture with her, or just exchange some words with her. Finally, I want to tell you about our photo opportunity today. Joel, are you here still? Okay. So my wonderful colleague Joel, our photographer, is going to, after Nesse has her final word, I'm going to ask that you stand up behind her, and he's going to take the photograph with all of you behind her. So that's your chance to get in a photo op with Nesse.
What are we doing?
We're doing the photo op. But right now, we're going to give Nesse the last words.
Well,
Do you have some last words of wisdom for us, Nesse?
Well, I told you before my last word.
Oh, you already gave up the last words?
I think I said it.
Okay.
When you leave this building and you're outside, look at the world around you. Don't see a race, don't see a religion. See a human being that the Lord in heaven, but whatever name we call him, created. So if we respect each other, regardless how we look, regardless where we pray, and we are kind to each other, we'll make it a better world.